Hello friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Katarina and I own an embroidery business called Threaded Comforts where I make book inspired sweaters such as these. On today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to use an embroidery machine, specifically the Brother PE 800 machine. This one is currently discontinued. They came out with a PE 900. They're all basically the same. If you have a single needle and you have no idea how to use it, or you've been thinking about getting an embroidery machine, then this is the video for you. We're gonna go over a lot of different things such as materials, how to use your machine, what all the buttons mean, how I specifically hoop my sweaters using the floating technique, and everything that you basically need to know to be able to start your own embroidery. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's get started. So the first thing that we're gonna get started with is materials. And obviously the most important one that you need is your embroidery machine. This one, like I said, is the Brother PE 800 machine. I really like this machine. I believe right now they are discontinued and now they're only selling the Brother PE 900. They don't have a huge difference. I believe the 900 cuts the jump stitches for you. So it is a little bit of an upgrade, but I think this machine works perfectly. You can find it on Facebook Marketplace. A lot of people sell them. That's where I got this one. But if you're looking for a brand new one, I'll go ahead and link the PE 900 down below. So we'll get back to this in a second, but let me show you the rest of the materials that you're going to need. So here I have all the materials that I believe that you'll need. If I'm missing one, I will mention it as the video goes on, but I will go ahead and link all of these down below so that it's easy for you guys to find. The first thing that you're gonna need is your hoop. This one came with my machine. I also bought extra hoops on Amazon, so I'll go ahead and link those. This is going to be kind of like a measuring for where you're going to place your hoop. This is very important. This is called basting spray adhesive. I use this because I do a floating technique for my sweaters. So I kind of glue my sweater to my stabilizer. I'll show you guys that later on. Then you're gonna need your stabilizer. I use, I believe, oh my God, 2.5 weight or 3. Don't quote me. I'll write the correct thing. But you're gonna need stabilizer, and then you're also going to obviously need thread. I started off with these little ones. I bought a pack that had like, I don't know, 50 colors or something like that so that I could try out different colors. And then once I found colors that I really liked for my designs, then I went ahead and bought bigger spools for them. Then also going to need some bobbins. I buy these pre-wound bobbins so that I don't need to wind them up myself. And honestly, they are a lifesaver because you can just grab one and go. Small little tools that I use are little scissors like these, lighter, and a little thread cutter. Sure. So those are basically all of the basic things that you need. If you want to like upgrade to a few things later, I highly recommend you get a spool holder. This is what I use all the time. It saves you a lot of headaches in the future. Trust me, it's totally worth it. All right, so now that we've gone through materials, let's go ahead and look at our machine and turn it on and see what we have. Okay, so this is how the machine looks like. And on this right side, you're gonna have the power on button, and that's going to turn on the machine. This screen is gonna pop up. If you click on it once, you're gonna press OK, and this cartridge is going to move. Just make sure you keep your hands away from it. And this is how that looks like. Let me zoom into this so that you can see different buttons. Okay, so in this phase, you're going to have different designs that the machine actually comes with already, and then you're also going to have different fonts that you can do designs on your actual machine. This is going to be the back button. This is where you're going to have all of your designs that are saved to your machine, and then you can browse through them with these buttons here. Over here, if you have a design that you want to upload to the machine or have on a USB drive, you can actually plug in a USB drive here And to access the USB drive, you would press this button, but right now it's not loaded. This button here has different settings. If you press on it, you can go through different pages, and here you can also find your total stitch counts. So when you're buying a new machine, or a used machine, and you're trying to see if it has high or low stitch counts, that's where you're going to find it. All right, moving on to some buttons here. You're going to have this one that's going to cut the thread, and this one is going to bring your needle down and up. This is your stop and start button, and back here you also have a lever that brings your presser foot up and down. If we open the top, this is where your thread goes, and let's actually thread our machine now. Okay, so before we actually get to the top thread, let's actually focus on the bobbin. Your bobbin is one of those things that is very important, and it's where a lot of people make mistakes at the very beginning. You just take this little cover off, and here lives your bobbin. The most important thing for your bobbin is that you want to put it into your machine in a P shape, not a Q. If you flip it like this, it kind of makes a Q. You want to make a P. So this thread is on the left side. And then you're just gonna pop your bobbin in, and it goes through this crevice. I always pull it a bit, and then this cuts the thread. Put this little top back on, and you're good to go. So now we're gonna get into the threading part. And if you use little spools like this, the direction of the thread is going to be very important. Over here, there's a little graphic that shows you how the thread is supposed to go. So for example, for this little spool, your thread is supposed to go, I don't know if you guys can see, but it's supposed to go under and this way. So for this one, you would put your spool this way, and the thread is coming from the bottom. What I like to do is also put this little thing right here, and it would go like that. Now, I show you this because it's important, because not all spools are the same. For example, this spool right here is slightly different. If I face them both the same direction, you see how this one, the thread comes over the top, and this one, the thread comes over the bottom? You want your thread to come over the bottom. So for this spool, I would put the spool like this. However, for this one, I would flip it, because the thread needs to come from the bottom. So for this one, I would go this way, put my little stopper, and it would go like that. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's finish kind of threading our whole machine. So we're gonna use this brown one for now. And once you go through here, it's gonna go, you're just gonna follow these little numbers. So 1 underneath, 2 down, 3, 4. Down here, there's going to be a 6. Let me zoom you guys in. If you guys can see that 6. So what I like to do is kind of put some tension on this thread and swipe it in there. Once you're swiped in, you're going to put the thread through this little divot, and I like to hold it with my finger up here, and then you're going to have this little lever here. You press that down, and your thread has gone through the needle, and you're just gonna pull it through. Once you pull the thread through, you're going to insert it through your foot, so right through the middle, and it's there. When it has a lot of thread left, I either like to cut it, but I don't really like to waste thread, So I come back up here and I kind of pull it until there's only this much left. Okay, so I hope that wasn't as complicated as it sounded. Just do it step by step and I'm sure you'll be okay. Make sure that the thread is coming out from underneath. For me to avoid these issues, and sometimes this spool can get stuck, it's kind of annoying to work with, what I like to do is actually use this little spool holder. And I'll even use it with the teeny tiny threads. So like, don't think that you need a big spool to use this. I used this with little spools as well. To unthread your machine, you don't want to pull it from here only. You kind of want to like follow the lines and then pull. Just because then you don't want to ruin the thread or get it stuck anywhere and things like that. But to use your thread holder, spool holder, it's basically the same thing. The only difference is that you're bypassing this little holder. Basically, you're going to put your spool through this little stick over here. And here, it doesn't matter which way you face it. Literally just face it, like sit it down. And then you're going to put it through this little hole. And I like to make sure that this is kind of like level with my machine. And we're going to thread it like normal. Like this. Just go up through little numbers. And we're done. Then I'm gonna pull a little bit. And that's it. I promise you that this is going to save you tons and tons and tons of headaches. You won't have to worry about how this is put in. You won't have to worry about it getting stuck and things like that. I think that this spool holder is amazing and I think it's only like $15. I don't know if I have one that I made, but I basically had another machine. I purchased another machine and I hadn't purchased one of these yet. And I literally made a spool holder just because I didn't want to deal with this. Let me see if I can find it. I found it. It's so dusty, but memories. I literally grabbed scrap pieces of wood and a little dowel, and I basically made a homemade version of this, and I put a little claw clip or binder clip, and that's where I would put my string through. That's how much I love these things, that I made mine own until the new one got here, basically. So don't sleep on it. Okay, so before we start embroidering, I need to show you how I actually hoop my sweaters. So let's get into hooping. So now we're at hooping, and for hooping, you're going to need your garment of choice. I embroider sweaters a lot. The ones that I use are Gildan 180, I believe. They are super great sweaters to start your business with. They're super soft in the insides. They're 50% cotton, 50% polyester, and I've just had great luck with these. I've had my personal ones for years, like 2 years now, and they're still in great conditions. So that's something I recommend. I get mine from Alpha Broder. There's definitely different wholesale places that you can get yours from. But anyways, let's continue. For your hooping, you're going to separate your hoop. And what you're going to do is actually only hoop your stabilizer. So I go ahead and I put this over here. Your little arrow is going to be at the top. You can't really see mine because my hoop is dirty, but disregard that. And there's only going to be like a little non-arrow at the bottom. Then you're going to want to tighten this. And I actually have this little, what is it called? Screwdriver that your machine normally comes with. And I recommend using your screwdriver instead of your thumbs because my thumb had a blister at one point from having to do this so often. Okay, next step is that you're going to want to take your little, what is it called, ruler guide, and put it on top of your hoop. You want to make sure you can read ABC, that it's not flipped upside down, and that your little bar matches your bar. And then with the pen, you're going to go ahead and mark these little holes. And when you take it off, you're going to see 5 marks, 4 over here and 1 in the center. I use regular pens to mark my sweaters as well, just because I've found that markers seep through these. Invisible ones really didn't disappear for me. I don't know the reason, but I just lightly mark my sweater. So for your sweater, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to turn it inside out. Once you have it inside out, you're going to put the front side of your sweater facing up. So not the part with the tag, but this part right here. I kind of have it very evened out, straight, and you're going to want to find the center of your sweater. So this is going to be the center. And you're going to line it up with this center line. Your measuring grid is going to have that bar that we were talking about close to the neck of the sweater. So not upside down, the bar cannot be close to here. It's gotta be close to the neck of the sweater. And again, make sure you can read ABC, make sure it's not flipped upside down. So once we find the center, we're going to line it up with this line over here. And then I really only use my fingers. 3 fingers is what you want. And I do 3 fingers up to this line right here. So 3 fingers, make sure it's centered and as straight as possible. And then with your same pen, you're going to do the little dots on this as well. Make sure you don't press down hard because it will seep through to the other side. You just kind of want to lightly make tiny, tiny, tiny marks so that you can see them once you lift this off. Okay, so now that your marks are done on your sweater and they are also done on your hoop, this is where the basting adhesive comes in. Please do not spray this close to your machine because you can ruin your machine with this. It'll just like get gunked up and it won't be nice. I did that mistake when I first started out. So just make sure that you're spraying away from your machine. So you want to shake it a little bit and spray the whole hoop. You don't need to spray it a ton, but then you're going to place it down on your table. You're going to want the bar to be at the top. And I'm going to pinch these 2 little dots with my fingers. Fold the sweater, so to the side. And I'm going to line up my 3 dots with these 3 dots. And then this dot needs to line up with this one. Press that down. And this dot needs to line up with this one. Press that down. And that's it. You don't have to actually hoop your sweater. This is called a floating technique, and we're going to just place this in our machine and embroider it like this. So now putting the sweater in the machine. We have our little bar that has 2 little divots, and those are gonna go in these 2 little screws. I don't really know what you call them, but what I like to do is I grab this sleeve and I start feeding it down here. And then you want to slide your hoop underneath the foot and you're going to lock that into place. Once you have that locked into place, you're going to take the top layer of your sweater and slide it to the left, and you're gonna create a little opening just like this. Now, things with this that you need to make sure that you take into consideration is that when this is moving, just make sure that you are aware of these edges. Why? Because I have gotten this edge slide this way, and now I've embroidered on top of my sweater, and it's a whole mess, and you can make holes in your sweater, and that's not fun. So just be careful with these edges, but this way it's good to go. Okay, so to choose a design, I'm actually going to show you how to use a USB drive to upload your own designs. So I'm going to plug in my USB drive here on the right side, and then I'm going to click this little button here. And it takes a while because I have a few designs there, but then I get to choose from any of the designs that are on my USB drive. For the brother machines, I believe your design has to be in a PES file. So that's how I have these saved. So let's look for the design that I want. I believe it's this one. You click on your design and you click set. Yes. So I chose one that says, I like my men written by women. And what I'm going to do, because the sweater has the neck to the left side, so the neck is on this side, I'm actually going to rotate my design. And to do that, you're going to click rotate 90 degrees and it'll completely flip it. So you can also move your design, so you can move it up or down like this, but I like it just centered. Ooh, my bad. And then you can size your design, so you can make it smaller or bigger, but I normally just leave my designs however they have been digitized. If you wanted to save this design from your USB drive to the machine, you would select this button right here, and you want to save it to your machine, and it goes ahead and saves it so that the next time you don't have to look for your USB drive, you can just go straight to your saved designs. All right, once we have our design chosen and we have it the way that we want it, we're gonna go ahead and click Edit End. And then these are some last minute edit things that you can move your design or rotate it. But I'm just going to go ahead and click Embroidery. Something very important to do before you go ahead and embroider your design is to fix the tension. The tension is different for all machines. You just kind of have to play around with yours and see what works best. But for my machine, it kind of likes to be at 2.4. So maybe start there, try it out. If your embroidery seems a bit too loose, then add more tension. If it looks too tight and like puckered, then loosen your tension. So we're at 2.4. This other button here is very important. If something happens to your design and that you need to stop it and go back, you can go over here and you can go back certain stitches or forward certain stitches. So for example, if I click plus 100, see now it's at the L, and it just keeps going forward. If you have two separate colors, you can skip to the next color here or go back to your first color here. And then if I want to just go back to where I started, I just click 0 and it'll go back to 0 stitches. So those are what those two buttons look like. And now we are going to go ahead and start this design. To start it, you see how this button is red? You just want to bring your presser foot down and it will turn green. And then you start. So I just paused the design, which by the way, yes, you can do that. You can just press this button and it will pause. But the reason I did that was to show you something to keep an eye out on as well. When your machine goes from like all the way over here to all the way over here, sometimes your neck will get stuck on this. So while it's embroidering, just make sure that that doesn't get stuck and you'll be good to go. The other thing, if you have your machine close to a wall, make sure that the wall is not, like that your machine is not super close against the wall, because this bar moves And one time it moved and was hitting the wall and it wasn't embroidering good and I could not figure out what was wrong with it. So those are 2 tips to keep in mind while this embroiders. Okay, carry on. So the battery to my camera died and that's why the lighting is completely different now. It's like overhead lighting and it's not the best, but here we are. Okay, the design finished and I did not touch it so that I could show you guys how it looks and what to do when you get to this point. Once your design finishes, it's gonna say finish embroidery. You just click OK and you're gonna go ahead and lift your presser foot and slide your sweater off this way. And you're going to unclip this bar. So you just pull it this way and lift the hoop. And then once you lift the hoop out of those little divots, you're going to slide it out of the machine, just like that. Once we have it off the machine, this is how it's going to look like. You can already start kind of pulling this off the stabilizer a little bit, but the first thing that you should do is take the hoop off. So I use, again, this little screwdriver so that you don't ruin your fingers with this. Just pop that right off and then you're gonna press this down and take this hoop off. So you are done with your hoop. Let's put that to the side. All right, and then this is your stabilizer and you're going to want to kind of lift it from the sweater and all the parts that don't have embroidery, and we're gonna go ahead and cut the excess off. So I just use some scissors like this, and we're gonna cut close, but not like super close. I do it something about this length. And then we're just gonna keep going around. This is obviously cutaway stabilizer instead of tearaway. I just think that this works best for what I do. For different purposes, you can use different things. But for clothing purposes, I always tend to use cutaway. All right, so on the Brother PE 800, obviously it does not cut any of the jump stitches. For the back of the embroidery, I like to clean it up just a little bit. I don't get everything in between, but this one, like, I feel like if you're putting your sweater inside out, you're gonna get your hands stuck on it. So this thread, just gonna snip that out. Anything that's kind of long and you feel like you are going to get stuck on, just cut those out of the way. But these little ones, you really don't need to cut those because they're not bothering anything and you're not gonna get stuck on those. All right, once that's done, then we're gonna flip the sweater back over. And we have our amazing design, which by the way, I think is really funny. But we have what's called jump stitches. So the jump stitches is just when your needle went from here to the next letter and it has that little thread. And so what I like to do is I grab these scissors. Let me zoom you guys in a little bit. But I grab scissors like this and I kind of just go ahead and cut those out. Like so. I don't think I've ever embroidered this design on the Brother P800 and it's got a lot of jump stitches. But you guys get the point. So just make sure you cut everything between each letter. It's just gonna make it look a lot more professional. So for really tight spaces where your scissors don't really fit through, this is what I use, I guess you could call this a seam ripper. I'm not really sure, but I kind of slide this so that in between the two T's, there's a little jump stitch. You can barely see it, and some people leave this jump stitch because obviously you can barely see it. I'm just a perfectionist and I like to cut every single jump stitch because I think it looks cleaner. And I slide that under and it makes a nice little separation there. Same thing between the W and the R. Gonna go ahead and slide that through, and it separates the letters. Now that the jump stitches are done, then we go on to our lighter. And this is basically the last step that I use for tightening up my work. And it's just because when you cut the jump stitches, normally a little end tail is gonna be there. And I use the lighter to kind of clean it up a little bit, but I don't stay on the sweater for too long because you can burn the sweater. So this is normally I go like this, and anywhere where I cut a jump stitch, I just kind of run it over. For example, you see that I don't know if you can see in the camera, but at the top I cut a jump stitch and it's kind of poking out. So I like to kind of fold the sweater. And now it's a lot cleaner. And I do the same thing like on these. Normally, I'll put like my finger underneath and kind of point it. And it cleans everything up. All right, and that is it. We embroidered a little sweater together. It's not as hard as you may think. It's honestly very easy and to get the hang of things. I hope that the little tricks here and there that I explained make it a lot easier for you guys. But if you have any questions on this whole process or you think that I missed something, let me know down in the comments below and I will try to get to all of your questions as soon as possible. And if you've watched till the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Just make sure you go ahead and like this video so that other people can find it as well. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!